Hi, I'm Joseph Bascetta, and I'm the stage director for our upcoming production of Tosca. I'm originally from Connecticut. I lived many years in New York City, and now here on the West Coast as artistic director of Fresno Grand Opera. I started my career very young. When I was 10 years old, I started singing in shows and operettas, and I remember my first role was Hansel in Hansel and Gretel. And I was playing baseball at the time, and one day, about 3 weeks before the performance, a hardball hit my nose, and I wound up losing the part of Hansel and never getting to sing my first leading role. I was very upset. So years later, my father, who was a classical musician, got me lots of music lessons and voice lessons. I studied at the Hart School of Music in Connecticut, went on to be choir soloist, school soloist, working with all of the musical comedy companies, studying with the Hart School of Music in the Young Artists program, the Young People's program, and then went on to college to get my degree in music education and theater and dance. That brought me to New York City because I decided I wanted to be a star. So going off to New York and auditioning for all the Broadway shows and standing in line, waiting to get on stage with hundreds and hundreds of other dancers and going on stage to get your 15 seconds of fame. So one day I was auditioning for Hello, Dolly on Broadway. And as I auditioned, I did a 12 o'clock kick. And if those of you who know a little bit about dancing, is a 12 o'clock kick means that you bring your leg and you hit all the way up to your head and you bring it down. Well, I did this 12 o'clock kick, and as I did this 12 o'clock kick, I was almost at the very last cut of Hello, Dolly, and I was so excited I was gonna get in my first Broadway show. And I pulled my hamstring, fell down on the ground. They had to stop the audition, they had to carry me off stage, and that day I decided to quit dancing because my opera director, teacher, Frank Corsaro from New York City Opera, had been telling me I had to decide whether I was going to be a dancer or a stage director. And I called him and I said, Frank, I've decided I'm going to become an opera stage director. Dancing has ended in my career. I can't dance anymore. And so now I'm all yours and ready to become a stage director. And that's how it started. My career has really spanned throughout the entire world. I have directed all over the United States in such theaters as Michigan Opera Theater and the Mobile Opera, Palm Beach Opera, and in Asia I directed in Shanghai for the National Opera in Shanghai, and I was the first American to direct at the National Opera House in Shanghai. And later on, they invited me back to open the new opera house in Pudong, where I directed the production of Tosca there, which opened the new opera house in Pudong in Shanghai. And then it brought me also all over Europe. I did a wonderful production of Turandot in Croatia that was with the scenery from La Scala of the Zeffirelli production. I directed in Tenerife, Spain, and in Austria, and in Italy, and Europe was always a wonderful experience for me. And one of my favorite places was Malta. I did many productions in Malta, and that was really a very special place and a very exciting place to do opera. So a lot of people ask me, what does Joe do when he doesn't direct opera? He cooks. I love to cook. I'm an Italian cook, and I love cooking Italian food. I have to tell you that one day I was being interviewed in Canada, and after the interview, the newspaper article came out, and they said, Mr. Bascetta gets up very bright and early, and he has a big glass of Coca-Cola to get his day going, and then at the end of the day, he cooks for his singers, and he does gourmet things to chickens. And I never quite understood what that meant. But anyways, I do love cooking, and one of my signature things is for almost every production I've directed all over the world, including Asia and the Middle East, I cook an Italian dinner for my entire cast, and I make them my grandmother's old-fashioned recipe of spaghetti and meatballs. And I'm telling you, those singers are so excited and so happy that one of the companies in Canada has put it in my contract that every time I go back to Canada, I have to do the Italian dinner for the singers or they won't sign my contract.